Oh hey guys, so look, it's been a while since I made a video and I was just flying back from Europe. I downloaded Making a Murderer Season 2 to watch again, and now I find my head spinning with the conspiracy theories from people on the internet, all the work that Kathleen Zellner has put into the case. I'm doing my own research, watching other people's opinions, combing through case files that people have put on the internet, and I just think it's insane that this case is so, one, polarizing, and two, still not solved. So I just wanted to come on here really quick and vent a little bit. I was venting earlier and I said, man, I should have just went live on Facebook to talk about this, but I thought I would just make a quick YouTube video just going over what I'm taking away from season 2 after watching it for, I think, maybe it was my third time watching it, but if I did watch it a second time, it was a long time ago. Here's my whole thing. Kathleen is clearly brilliant. She's incredibly well educated. She's a no-nonsense, straight-shooting, no bullshit lawyer. And she even tells us all from the beginning, if you are guilty and you hire me, I'm going to find out. So there are a lot of people who say that she took on this case with Steven Avery because she wanted to be more famous and be on season 2 of Making a Murderer. Now, Kathleen was already famous in her own right because she's a trailblazer in the world of wrongful convictions and law. She was also in the documentary Dream Killer with Ryan Ferguson, and let's just say she wanted more fame and more fill-in-the-blank TV exposure by being on Making a Murderer. One might argue that she wants to shine a light on the corrupt court system that we all know exists. Now, for the most part, I think that the wheels of justice, while they do spin slowly, usually get it right when people aren't corrupt, when they don't have ulterior motives, and when they don't have a case to close, and when they don't want to pin a crime on someone who maybe didn't do it. So she already has her whole set of fame. Let's say she wants to come on Making a Murderer to expose more corruption. But if she did want to do that, then that's getting done. If she wanted to come on season 2 and she found out that Steven Avery was in fact guilty, she could expose that as well, and then she would have cracked the case. For those of us who believe that he's innocent, all it's going to take is some hardcore evidence that hasn't been fucked around with, that hasn't potentially been planted in order to get us to believe, all right, look, he did it. Because my whole thing is, even if you believe that Steven Avery did it and he's guilty, and none of the evidence was planted, none of the cops were corrupt, the car wasn't initially found by Colburn and moved onto the property and the brake light, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Even if you believe that none of that happened and Steven did this, you also believe Brendan's coerced confession, which there's no forensic DNA evidence to support at all. You believe both of those things? If you tell me that you believe both of those things, I can't have a conversation with you because you're a fucking bullshitter. There's no way both of those things can be true. It's either Steven did it alone or both of them are innocent, because Brendan did not do it. I'm not going to get in here analyzing the tape, and it's just heartbreaking watching his mother, Barb, who now, after watching season 2, it brought me back. She now has to see that her other son, Bobby, and her husband, Scott, are the ones that Kathleen think did it. And it's like, you've already taken my son away, the court system. Now you want to take, now I got a lawyer wanting to take my other son away and my husband potentially. It's scary. And I think all these years later, the one thing that true crime, documentaries, and wrongful convictions has taught all of us is that you might not be guilty of a crime, but that doesn't mean that you won't be convicted of committing that same crime. We all know that, and it's kind of scary. So I think that Scott and Bobby, if they're innocent, which I don't think they are, if they're innocent, would still be shaking in their boots, because if they believe that their uncle and their brother-in-law Stephen and their brother and their stepson Brendan are innocent, they're still in jail of a crime that they didn't commit. So it could be you, it could be me, it could be Bobby, it could be Scott. Now, separate from this, I did make a couple of phone calls and I spoke with Blaine Dassey very briefly. I explained who I was and what I was doing, and that I wanted to go ahead and make a video. Now, I've been in touch with a number of family members over the years. I haven't got any smoking gun, any additional evidence, mostly just conversations about the documentary. When they were filming season 2, I had been in touch with them after season 1 had come out. Blaine Dassey hung up the phone on me. So that tells me a few things. One, he doesn't want to talk to randoms in New York that he doesn't know. Two, they're sick and tired of getting phone calls because people look up the numbers. You could easily look it up if you do a little bit of sleuthing. Or three, he potentially knows that his brother and his stepfather are in some heavy shit and they might end up getting in trouble. So he doesn't want to implicate himself on knowing anything, because I was going to ask just a couple of questions that I still have. So the other layer here that I wanted to discuss is, in order for Kathleen's scenario, which she plays out, to be correct, you've got to have Stephen needing the photos taken legitimately of Barb's vehicle. You got to have Bobby Dassey spotting Teresa and either having premeditated going after her, whether it's he wanted to hurt her, rape and murder her. That had to have been done spur of the moment or planned. Does he then call Scott to come and meet him? But now you've got two people who potentially committed this crime and then hid her car at that one area of the property, which that person has come forward and told Sheriff Colburn he saw it, and then Colburn never reported that, and then he phoned in the license plate. So that had to happen. Then Teresa had to get burned. There were no rib fragments, no vertebrae fragments. They're saying that this part of the body, very hard to burn, if you recall from season 2. Hard for it to burn down to dust like in a crematorium, so that would have been disposed of somewhere else. That could easily be done. Someone just takes a 4-hour drive, or they are gone half the day and then they come back. I mean, I've never disposed of a body, but in watching all of these crime shows, you see the lengths that people will go to in order to get away with it. So that had to happen. And then simultaneously, the police are going into Stephen's house, taking blood with an eyedropper type instrument, and then planting it in Teresa's vehicle, which they then found and moved onto the Avery property, busting out the brake light, as I said. Someone had to get Ryan Hilligus, her ex-boyfriend, involved in order to get him the day planner, which was written on, and the cell phone towers that Kathleen has indicated show where Teresa had a phone call, lost a phone call, sent a phone call to voicemail. That all had to happen because she was writing things down in her day planner, which she wouldn't have known until those phone calls, since it was a printed copy, and Ryan had that copy. So that all of this had to happen. It feels far-fetched, even for the people who strongly believe in Stephen and Brendan's innocence. This all feels very, very far-fetched that all of these people are involved. But there's a $36 million lawsuit on the line. So the Manitowoc County Police were never supposed to be involved, and then the key has to magically turn up with only Stephen's DNA on it. I was saying earlier, my set of keys, which is right over here, it's got a shit ton of my DNA on it. If someone did get a hold of my keys, it would have their DNA on it too, but you're gonna find mine also. How is it that in every instance of forensic science DNA testing, there's only one person's DNA and nothing is ever mixed? Did they ever test for Scott's? Did they ever test for Bobby's? The whole thing with the placement of the computer and labeling the computer as Brendan's, not submitting all of the deviant porn that was found on Bobby's computer, all of that has to have happened in order for Kathleen's claim to actually be true. Then you've got Ryan Hilligus, who present day will not speak with Kathleen, whether it's half because they don't want to be on the documentary and they end up getting hated by the public. The roommate who arguably gave the police access to Teresa's bathroom, where they got, I think her toothbrush, her chapstick, enough ways to get her DNA, which could have potentially also been tampered with. The groin swab, that's a little bit of a loose end, which was never used, but we know it was taken and it could have been mislabeled because the hood latch swab didn't have any dirt or grit or grease on it. It's all of these things that are just, your head is like, oh my God, my head's gonna explode. But it all had to happen in order for Kathleen's version to be true. Now, I ask myself, do I believe Kathleen's version? We'll never know. But quite frankly, she doesn't take on guilty clients. She's got a rock solid record of wrongful convictions. She's made her clients millions upon millions of dollars. And I think that she's putting her reputation on the line, not for fame or money, but for the truth. And if Ryan wants to help find out who really did this to Teresa, he should cooperate with Kathleen. And if her roommate wants to really find out what happened to Teresa, they should cooperate with Kathleen. Now, I know Teresa gets lost in all of this, which is so sad because someone is still dead. And we forget about that time and time again because we're coming up with conspiracy theories. We're researching law. We all think that we could be lawyers sitting on our couches here, watching all different cases and docu-series about wrongful convictions and did he or didn't he, did she or didn't she. And Teresa gets lost in all this. We also haven't heard from Teresa's family. Their refusal to participate in season 2 speaks volumes. I understand that they just want to go back to their lives. Their lives will never be the same. Don't you want to really find out who did this? Because I believe her name was Penny, the woman who first accused Stephen of rape back in the first case, which he did 17 years for. She feels horrible, and she felt horrible every day knowing that it wasn't him who did it, but that she was coerced into saying it was him because they wanted to close the case. That eats away at your soul. So I don't think her family's ever going to be the same again. And Barb even said she would love to talk with Teresa's mother. They never allowed for it. I think that a conversation could happen, unless Barb's other son is the one who actually killed Teresa Halbach. Which then it goes down to the porn and the deviant behavior, the deviant porn searches, and how does that really play a role? I think that it just muddies things up when you have instances of Lynn coming out of the woodwork, wanting to marry Stephen, going on Dr. Phil, doing interviews with People and In Touch magazine. You have Jody coming forward saying she was eating all that rat poison just to get herself into the hospital because she wanted to get away from Stephen. I'm not saying Stephen Avery is a saint. I think that we all know he did some shit in the past. And I don't just want to sound blasé about it. Oh, who hasn't? Who hasn't done stuff in their past? It doesn't mean he's a killer. And I think that you'd have to be so stupid to know that you've got this windfall of money coming at you. I mean, at that point, it was any day, any month. And then you're really going to commit a crime like this? Like, don't you want to wait to get the money first? Maybe bury some of it in the salvage yard, get your family out of Manitowoc County. And then if you're going to commit a crime, then you have Ken Kratz who's sending inappropriate text messages to that woman who was his client and a victim of a sexual assault and abuse from her husband or her boyfriend. Then he has to resign because he was sending her those bad messages. I mean, this is just so twisted. I was also watching an interview with Kathleen, and then I'm going to wrap this up because we're going on 15 minutes here. Kathleen was saying that judges want to believe that the court system works, and that there are even prosecutors who, when they're hit with alternate confessions of the real killer after their suspect is behind bars serving time, after they're hit with alternate confessions and DNA forensic evidence, the prosecutors still do not want to believe that the person they put behind bars is innocent. And if you watch the confession tapes, you can clearly see that people are still holding on to some of these wrongful conviction cases where they say, no, they did it. No, I still think they did it. Well, they're walking free now, and the correct perpetrator is either behind bars or we still haven't found out who it was, but there was enough evidence to exonerate the person who was convicted. And their response to that is, no, I still think they did it. What? Same with judges who don't want to believe that the court system got it wrong. Sometimes they get it wrong. And there are innocent people behind bars. And if you don't believe that, then we can't be friends. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. I'm not screaming for subscribers anymore. I'm not screaming for you to ring the bell, smash that bell, oh my God. But what I am gonna say is if you wanna keep the conversation going, super open to that. You can do it in the comments. You can find me on the socials. My name on Instagram is the same as my YouTube name, Eddie Going. Thanks for watching. Treat yourself, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you soon.